Well, a chess organization is under fire for forbidding transgender players from taking part in women's events. The International Chess Federation, or FIDE, says players who have transitioned from male to female have, quote, no right to participate in women's events. That's until the organization can analyze the situation further. Well, joining me now is woman grandmaster and two-time US women's champion, Jennifer Shahade. Good to have you with us.
So excited to be here.
So, trans women won't be able to compete for the next 2 years or more while this governing body conducts what they call further analysis. I would think chess is one of those games where gender doesn't matter at all. You're a pro. What's your take?
Well, I'm not happy at all about these restrictive policies because I feel that transgender women are a really important part of our community. So we should be making it more straightforward, more seamless for them to play in women's events. But as to your question as why gender matters, well, women are very outnumbered in the chess world. It's something like 8-to-1. So 8 men for every woman who play. So we have these special events, women's events, open to transgender women who are an important part of the community. But the events, the idea is to provide a safe space for women and to have some fun, meet some other women who play the game. They're really important to me. And I feel that people who play them often have a fantastic experience. And we really want to open those up to anyone who identifies with a woman, who identifies as a woman or who feels that they're harassed. And that certainly includes transgender women.
And do you have any indication as to how many transgender women this ban would impact?
Well, I think that it impacts definitely. There's a really strong transgender female player from France. She's one of the top players in the country. Her name is Yosha Iglesias. And that's the type of person that should have been looped in to these regulations. You know, what do you think about this? She's extremely active, both as a player and as a thinker in the game about gender and about policy. So I think that's really where we need to start. We need to ask the people who are affected by these policies, what do you think? How can we make this make more sense so that it's not abused, but that it welcomes the people that we want to welcome?
And I want to bring up a quote from that player you mentioned, Yosha Iglesias. She said this policy would lead to unnecessary harm for trans players and women, even mentioning suicide and depression. She says trans players weren't properly consulted or consulted at all. Why do you think that is?
You know, all I can think of is that there's this fantasy, this nightmare that they think that a man who doesn't identify as a woman, doesn't identify as non-binary, is going to pretend that they're a woman so that they can win a women's event and win prize money. But you know what? I've been hearing about this for a decade and it's never happened. So why are we not focusing on the real people who need our support, and instead we're looking at something that somebody dreamed up? It's fiction. It's fiction for now. And you know what? If it does happen, we're chess players, we'll deal with it.
All right. You are, of course, the grandmaster, two-time US women's champion, Jennifer Shahade. Always good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.